My name is Sienna Hartley, and 2 months ago I stood at a podium in my old high school gymnasium, addressing 300 graduating seniors while my former teacher sat in the faculty section. I spoke about resilience and believing in yourself when others don't. I never mentioned her by name. I didn't need to. She knew every word was proof she had been wrong about me 15 years earlier. When I finished, the applause was thunderous. She clapped too, slowly, her face unreadable. That silence between us said everything that needed saying. 10th grade was the year everything changed. I was 16 and convinced I wanted to be a writer. I filled notebooks with stories and essays. I submitted pieces to the school literary magazine. I dreamed of publishing books someday. English class was my favorite subject until Mrs. Patricia Brennan became my teacher. She had a reputation for being tough, but fair. I thought tough meant high standards. I learned it sometimes meant cruelty disguised as honesty. We were assigned personal essays about our future goals. I wrote 10 pages about becoming an author. I described the books I wanted to write. Stories about complex women navigating difficult circumstances. I wrote about impact and legacy. I poured my heart onto those pages. Mrs. Brennan returned them 2 weeks later, covered in red ink. The grade was a C-. The final comment destroyed me. Your writing is adequate, but unremarkable. You lack the distinctive voice necessary for professional success. I suggest you pursue more realistic career options. You'll likely end up a nobody if you chase this dream. I sat at my desk reading those words over and over. Nobody. She didn't say I might struggle or face challenges. She said I would be a nobody, in front of my peers who could see my grade, in permanent ink on an assignment I had cared about deeply. I went home that day and cried for 3 hours. Then I stopped writing. Completely. I told myself she was right. I was ordinary. My dreams were bigger than my talent. I needed to be realistic. The rest of high school passed in a fog. I took practical classes, business, accounting, marketing. I stopped submitting to the literary magazine. I avoided creative writing courses. I buried the part of myself that loved storytelling and convinced myself it was childish. Mrs. Brennan never mentioned the essay again. She taught her classes with the same sharp efficiency. I was just another student who needed correction. Forgettable. College was supposed to be a fresh start. I enrolled as a business major because it felt safe. But freshman year, a general education requirement forced me into a writing seminar. The professor was everything Mrs. Brennan wasn't. Encouraging, insightful, kind. She assigned personal essays. I wrote carefully, protectively, expecting red ink and disappointment. Instead, she wrote that my voice was compelling and authentic. She asked if I had considered writing professionally. I told her no. I told her someone once said I would end up a nobody if I tried. She looked at me seriously and said that person was wrong. Sometimes the people who crush your dreams are just revealing their own limitations. That conversation cracked something open. I started writing again. Just for myself at first. Short essays, personal reflections. Then I submitted a piece to the campus newspaper. They published it, then another and another. By sophomore year, I was a regular columnist. By junior year, I was the editor. I changed my major to communications with a writing focus. I stopped being realistic and started being honest about what I actually wanted. Have you ever had someone tell you that you weren't good enough, only to prove them completely wrong? Share your story in the comments. After graduation, I moved to Chicago and worked as a content writer for a marketing agency. The job paid bills but felt empty. I was writing about products I didn't care about for brands that didn't inspire me. At night, I worked on personal essays about women's experiences, ambition, failure, resilience, recovery. I submitted them to online publications. Most rejected me. A few accepted. Slowly, I built a small portfolio. Then a personal essay I wrote about imposter syndrome went viral. It was published on a mid-sized platform and shared thousands of times. Women messaged me saying they felt seen. Editors from larger publications reached out requesting more work. Suddenly, I had opportunities. I started freelancing full-time. My essays appeared in major magazines and news websites. I wrote about career challenges, self-doubt, and building confidence after criticism. My work resonated because it was honest about struggle. 3 years into freelancing, a literary agent contacted me. She had been following my essays and asked if I had ever considered writing a book. I told her I had, but wasn't sure anyone would want to read it. She said the audience was already there. I spent the next year writing my first book. It was part memoir, part guide about rebuilding confidence after being told you're not good enough. I called it Unbecoming Nobody. The title was deliberate, a direct answer to words spoken 15 years earlier. The book published when I was 30. Reviews were strong, sales exceeded expectations. I was invited to speak at conferences and women's leadership events. Media outlets requested interviews. The book became a bestseller in its category. Not a massive cultural phenomenon, but successful enough to prove I had built something real. I had a career built on the exact dream someone told me to abandon. The irony was delicious, but also bittersweet. I had wasted years believing her assessment instead of trusting myself. My speaking engagements increased. I talked about resilience and self-belief at corporate events and universities. I shared my story about the teacher who called my dreams unrealistic. Audiences always responded emotionally. Many had similar stories. Someone who crushed their confidence, a parent, a boss, a teacher. We all carry those voices. My message was simple. Those voices are often wrong. They speak from their own limitations, not your potential. Then I received an unexpected email. It came from the principal of my old high school. He explained they were planning graduation and wanted to invite accomplished alumni as keynote speakers.
Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Turn on bell notification to stay updated for more revenge stories.
Someone had suggested me. He had read my book and found it inspiring. Would I consider speaking to the graduating class? The irony was extraordinary. The school where a teacher told me I would be nobody wanted me to inspire their students. I almost declined. The wound felt old, but still tender. I sat with the decision for a week. Part of me wanted to refuse out of spite, but spite felt small compared to the opportunity. These students weren't responsible for Mrs. Brennan's cruelty. They deserved to hear that failure isn't permanent and criticism isn't truth. I accepted the invitation. I would return, not to gloat, but to tell them what I wished someone had told me at 16. Your worth isn't determined by one person's limited vision. The school coordinated everything professionally. They set schedules and logistics. They asked if I wanted to meet faculty before the ceremony. I declined politely. This wasn't about reconciliation. It was about speaking to students who needed encouragement. The day of graduation arrived with clear blue skies. I drove to the school feeling strange. The building looked smaller than I remembered. The hallways felt narrow. Everything was the same but diminished by time and perspective. I waited in a side room before the ceremony began. The principal thanked me for coming. He mentioned that many faculty members were excited to see me. He didn't mention Mrs. Brennan specifically. I wondered if she still taught there. I wondered if she remembered me. The processional music started. Graduates filed into the gymnasium. Faculty followed. I scanned their faces and found her. Mrs. Brennan looked older but unmistakable. Same severe posture, same critical expression. She took her seat in the faculty section 3 rows from the stage. The principal introduced me with a generous biography. Local author and speaker, best-selling book about resilience. Featured in national publications, regular keynote at conferences, he made my accomplishments sound impressive. I walked to the podium feeling surprisingly calm. 300 faces looked up at me expectantly. I began speaking from notes, but mostly from memory. I told them that someone once told me I would end up a nobody. I didn't say who. I explained how those words shaped years of my life. How I abandoned dreams because one person's assessment felt like objective truth. How I eventually learned that criticism often says more about the critic than the criticized. I talked about rebuilding confidence slowly, about trusting your own voice even when others dismiss it, about the difference between constructive feedback and destructive judgment. I saw Mrs. Brennan shift in her seat. She was listening, but her expression remained neutral. I continued talking about resilience, about how success doesn't mean proving critics wrong. It means building a life that feels authentic regardless of their opinions. I told the graduates they would encounter people who doubt them, teachers, employers, sometimes friends or family. Those voices don't define their potential. Only they define that through choices and persistence. The speech lasted 20 minutes. When I finished, the applause was immediate and sustained. Students stood. Parents stood, faculty stood. Mrs. Brennan stood too, clapping with everyone else. Our eyes met briefly across the gymnasium. I saw something there. Recognition maybe. Regret possibly. I looked away. This moment wasn't about her anymore. It was about students who needed to hear that one person's judgment isn't destiny. After the ceremony, graduates lined up for photos and conversations. I signed programs and books. Parents thanked me for the message. Several students told me they needed to hear exactly what I said. One girl mentioned she wanted to be a writer, but was afraid she wasn't talented enough. I told her that talent matters less than persistence. That early criticism feels devastating, but rarely proves accurate. That she should write because she loves it, not because someone validates it. Mrs. Brennan approached near the end. She waited until the crowd thinned. She said my speech was powerful. She said she was proud to see me succeed. I thanked her politely. She paused, then mentioned she remembered me from class. Bright student. Passionate about writing. I nodded. I didn't correct her revisionist memory. I didn't remind her what she actually said. What would be the point? She either genuinely forgot or was rewriting history to ease discomfort. Either way, her opinion no longer mattered. I left the school that afternoon feeling lighter than expected. The speech hadn't been about revenge. It had been about breaking a cycle. Mrs. Brennan crushed my confidence because someone probably crushed hers. Hurt people hurt people. Healed people can choose differently. I chose to encourage instead of diminish, to build up instead of tear down. That choice mattered more than any vindication. My career continued growing after that. More speaking engagements, a second book, media appearances. I built a life around encouraging people to trust themselves despite criticism. Every speech felt like answering that 10th grade essay. Every student I encouraged felt like proof that Mrs. Brennan was wrong. Not just about me. About the idea that some people are destined to be nobody. We're all somebody to someone. We all have value that exists independent of validation. I never spoke to Mrs. Brennan again after graduation. I heard she retired 2 years later. I hope retirement brought her peace. I hope she learned that teachers hold immense power to build or destroy confidence. That words spoken carelessly can echo for decades, but I don't carry anger toward her anymore. She was wrong about me. That's just a fact now, not a wound. I became somebody despite her prediction. Or maybe because of it. Sometimes the greatest motivation is proving a cruel voice wrong. Not for them. For yourself. The school invited me back again this year. Another graduation, another keynote. I accepted because the message matters more than the history. Somewhere in that audience will be a student who feels inadequate, who carries criticism like a stone, who believes someone else's assessment more than their own potential. I'll tell them what I needed to hear at 16. You're not a nobody. You're not even close. And the person who said otherwise was just revealing their own limitations. Your story is yours to write. Make it remarkable. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel to watch more revenge and inspiring stories that will make you excited like this one. Where are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments and let us know what you think about this story.
Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Turn on bell notification to stay updated for more revenge stories.